My dearest one, tonight, a holy whisper moves through the unseen, carrying a message that was written for your spirit long before you ever pressed play on this video. Archangel Michael steps forward on this Christmas Eve, and he says the veil between your longing and your miracle is thinner than it has ever been. He declares that your heart is standing at the doorway of an answer you have begged heaven for, an answer that begins unfolding in the very last second, when most give up, but you, chosen one, are being told not to. This is not a coincidence. This is not an accident. This moment is a divine appointment. Archangel Michael reveals that the prayer you thought was forgotten, the tear you cried alone when no one was watching, the dream you buried because life became too heavy, heaven never lost it. Heaven protected it. And tonight, on this sacred night of miracles, that prayer begins to breathe again. He is showing me an image of a door, old, wooden, heavy, and behind it, a light that pulses like a heartbeat. He says this is the answer you have waited on. It has been growing, forming, lining. Blunt delay prepared. Because blessings that carry destiny are never rushed. They arrive at the precise second your spirit can carry their weight. And Michael says, your spirit has finally reached that moment. But listen closely, because what he speaks next is urgent. He says there is something your heart has been wrestling with silently, a fear that if this miracle does not come now, it may never come. He knows the heaviness. He knows the pressure. He knows the way your faith has stretched itself thin, trying to believe even when everything around you whispered the opposite. And yet, here you are, still searching for the light, still hoping, still reaching upward. This right here is why heaven is moving. Michael says, the heart that hopes even when wounded is the heart heaven honors. Your hope has been counted. Your endurance has been seen. Your waiting has not been wasted. On this night, he releases a divine assurance. The answer is coming toward you faster than doubt can chase it away. Heaven's timing always feels slow until suddenly it feels instant. And Michael says your suddenly is near. Near enough that the spiritual air around you has shifted. Near enough that your dreams are stirring, even if you cannot sense it fully yet. Near enough that the blessing is already forming shape within the unseen, looking for the final moment, the last second, to break through. But here is the twist you must not miss. Michael warns that right before the miracle touches your life, the enemy often tries one final attempt to discourage the heart. He says you may feel a strange heaviness, an old fear, or the urge to give up. This is not you losing faith. This is the old season trying to take one last breath before the new one silences it forever. Do not let that moment fool you. Do not let that feeling lie to you. Your breakthrough is closer than the doubt trying to stop you. Archangel Michael is standing beside you tonight with his sword lifted, clearing the path, breaking the resistance, removing the spiritual clutter that has blocked clarity, love, opportunities, and peace from reaching you. He says your heart is about to be filled in a way you forgot was possible. For some of you, this answer will come as restoration. For some, as a long-awaited message or reconciliation. For some, as a breakthrough you have cried for in private. And for others, it will come as a sudden opening, an opportunity that appears out of nowhere but was divinely orchestrated from the beginning. The point is this: heaven has already chosen you for what is coming. Michael emphasizes this again and again. Stay attentive. Stay open. A miracle arrives when the clock touches the final second. And just before he steps back, he gives one final whisper. Do not turn away now. The next moments reveal what your spirit has been waiting for. Hold on, because what unfolds next carries the turning point of this entire message. Keep watching. This is where the miracle begins to reveal itself. Type "I receive the miracle" in the comments if this speaks to your spirit. Lesson code 144 is now activated over your life. My precious light bearer, there is a stirring in the spiritual atmosphere around you right now, subtle yet powerful, like the quiet hum of heaven preparing the earth before dawn breaks. Archangel Michael steps forward again, and he says this movement you are sensing is not imagination, not emotional hope, and not coincidence. It is alignment. It is divine orchestration. It is the shift that happens when your spirit has reached the exact point where heaven can hand you what you have been waiting for. And on this Christmas Eve night, a night wrapped in the memory of divine arrival, Michael says your own arrival moment is closer than you dare believe. He whispers that some of the deepest answers come not in the loud moments of your life, but in the silent ones. When the world around you slows down, when distractions loosen their grip, when the noise fades just enough for your spirit to hear God breathe. Tonight carries that silence. Tonight carries that breath. Tonight is the kind of night when miracles slip into human lives quietly, gently, and yet powerfully, changing everything without warning. Archangel Michael says you are standing inside such a moment. He shows me an image of your heart, not broken, but tired from holding on, tired from trying to trust timing that didn't make sense, tired from waiting for something your spirit knows is meant for you. He says heaven has watched every moment you tried to convince yourself that maybe you asked for too much, maybe the blessing was for someone else, maybe the silence meant the answer was denied. But none of that was true. Not for a single second. The silence was protection. The delay was preservation. And the waiting was the shaping of your spirit so that when the miracle arrives, you can stand under its weight without collapsing. Michael says your heart is much stronger than you think. He says you have carried spiritual weight that many would have surrendered under. You have walked through seasons where your prayers felt like whispers drowned out by the world. You have kept faith even when your soul trembled. And he calls this faith a seed that is about to burst through the soil after a long, hidden season beneath the surface. Seeds do not sprout the moment they are planted. They sprout the moment they are ready. And heaven says, in this very hour, your seed of faith has reached maturity. What you are about to receive is not just an answer, it is a fulfillment. Michael warns that right before fulfillment arrives, the human heart becomes unusually sensitive. You may notice old memories resurfacing, or emotions you cannot fully explain. You may feel restless, or unusually reflective, or strangely alert to small signs around you. This is because your spirit senses what your mind has not yet understood. The spiritual door is unlocking. Heaven's timing is converging with your earthly steps. Something is crossing over from the unseen into the seen. He says your answer is not vague. It is not symbolic. It is specific, real, tangible. The kind of blessing that changes circumstances, shifts outcomes, and rewrites the direction of your story. And because of that, the enemy tried to cloud your mind with doubt in recent days. There may have been moments where discouragement felt sharper than usual, where small setbacks felt heavier than they should have, where you questioned whether anything was truly shifting. Michael says those weren't signs of failure, they were signs of closeness. Pressure always intensifies at the edge of breakthrough. Heaven had been preparing the final moments. And Michael says divine timing works like the last flicker of a candle before a new flame is lit. The old season always tries to flare up one last time before losing its power. The fears you felt recently were that flare. The confusion was that flicker. But the flame that is rising now is entirely new, one heaven lit for you. Michael reveals something deeply personal here. He says the answer coming to your life carries healing inside it. Not just external blessing, but internal restoration. There is a wound within you, one you carry quietly, one you rarely speak of. This incoming miracle will touch that wound in a way you do not expect. It will soften a place you thought would always hurt. It will mend something you assumed time alone could never repair. He says your miracle will not just change your circumstances. It will change your capacity to love, to trust, to hope again. Heaven is moving with precision. The orchestration around your life right now is delicate, intentional, perfect. Michael says you may feel things aligning in slow, almost invisible ways, but don't be fooled by the pace. He says the final shift, the moment everything becomes clear, happens suddenly, like a curtain being pulled back. And that moment is approaching with every breath you take. He urges you to stay awake in your spirit. Stay aware. Stay receptive. The blessing arrives at the last second, but the preparation for it happens in the moments leading up. Moments like this one. He says, keep listening, for what comes next will guide you into the doorway of your breakthrough. Hold steady here. The revelation that follows is the one that bridges your waiting into your miracle. Before you scroll, the next unfolding may be the very message your heart was created to hear tonight. Type "I open my heart to the miracle" in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 229 is now released over you. My cherished one, there is a holy weight settling in the atmosphere around you right now, a weight not of burden, but of divine significance. Archangel Michael steps forward again, his presence sharper, clearer, and more purposeful than before. He says you have entered the spiritual zone where heaven begins unveiling the first pieces of the miracle that has been forming behind the veil. What was previously hidden in mystery is now beginning to push against the barrier that separates the unseen from your physical reality. You are standing at the threshold of fulfillment, and Michael insists that you must stay attentive, because the signs of arrival will appear subtly at first, then suddenly all at once. He reveals that the miracle you are waiting for is not something you must chase. It is something moving toward you with intentional precision. But he also warns that when heaven is seconds away from releasing something extraordinary, distractions surface with unusual force. You may notice strange interruptions, emotional agitation, or a sudden heaviness trying to cloud your clarity. These are not coincidences. They are indicators. Michael says the closer the breakthrough, the louder the resistance. And he wants you to recognize that the resistance you have felt in recent days is actually confirmation that your answer is dangerously close to manifestation. He is showing me an image of your spirit standing in a long hallway, lit only by flickering candles. You have walked through this hallway for a long time, sometimes with confidence, sometimes with trembling steps. But tonight, Michael points toward the end of that hallway where a single door stands, glowing, vibrating with divine energy. Behind this door is the miracle prepared specifically for your life. A miracle shaped by your tears, refined by your patience, and timed by heaven itself. Michael says something profound here. Your heart has been positioned to receive, not by accident, but by endurance. Every disappointment you survived, every delay you endured, every moment you held on to hope when nothing around you supported that hope, these moments became spiritual coordinates. They aligned your heart with heaven's release. You are not receiving this miracle because you were lucky. You are receiving it because you refused to let go of what God whispered to you in the dark. That refusal is the faith heaven rewards. Heaven has been testing the foundation beneath you, ensuring that when this blessing arrives, you can stand under its weight without fear of losing it. Some blessings are too big to be placed on fragile ground, and Michael says the ground of your life has been strengthened through a series of trials that felt unnecessary but were actually essential. You were being prepared not just to receive but to sustain. And now, on this sacred night, the sustaining grace is finally complete. Michael leans in with urgency here. He says that in the coming hours, or days, you will notice a shift inside your spirit before you see a shift outside your circumstances. Your intuition will feel heightened. Your peace will deepen in unexpected ways. You may sense a warmth, a pull, or a cleared inner knowing that something is aligning. These sensations are not emotional, they are spiritual confirmations. They are heaven's way of telling you that what you have waited for is no longer distant, is approaching. But he also gives a firm warning. He says, do not speak fear into this moment. Do not speak doubt. Do not rehearse old wounds or past failures. Words carry spiritual authority, and right before breakthrough, the tongue becomes a battlefield. Michael says, guard your mouth as fiercely as you guard your hope. What you speak in this hour becomes a seed that either opens the door or delays it. Heaven wants agreement, not hesitation. And now he reveals something deeper, something that may shake your heart. He says the miracle coming to you is tied to your identity, not just your need. This blessing is arriving not only to answer a prayer but to remind you who you truly are. You have forgotten parts of your strength along the way. You have forgotten the sound of your own spiritual authority. You have forgotten how heaven sees you. His answer will reawaken that truth. When it arrives, you will feel something inside you come back to life, something that has been silent far too long. Michael finishes with this powerful message: do not turn away. Do not disconnect. You are seconds away from the moment heaven has been preparing you for. He urges you to stay with this message, to remain engaged, to keep your heart open. What unfolds next carries clarity you cannot afford to miss. Hold on, because the next unveiling may be the one that reveals exactly what form your Christmas Eve miracle will take. Before you scrolled, breathe. The shift you feel is not your imagination. Is destiny adjusting itself to meet you? Type "I stand ready for my miracle" in the comments if this message resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 1113 is now active over your life. Like this message, share it with someone who needs a miracle, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss what heaven speaks next. Just as Archangel Michael reveals that your miracle is already moving toward you, so too does this mission move toward souls who are waiting in silence for God's voice. This is why your support matters, not for a channel, but for the hearts heaven is trying to reach in their final moments of doubt. When you sow into this work, you are opening a spiritual river that carries light into places where hope has nearly died. God says, when you pour into my message, I pour into your life, and this is His living word over you. I feel led to tell you this directly. Your act of support becomes a prophecy in motion. It becomes a seed that calls down open heavens, breakthrough oil, and answered prayer. For those who feel the pull, you may activate this blessing through Super Thanks channel membership with a PayPal link in the description. Step into this moment with boldness, because heaven responds to the courageous. My awakened soul, there is a sacred trembling in the spiritual realm as Archangel Michael steps closer, his presence spreading like a shield of light around you. Tonight, the veil between your longing and your fulfillment is thinning even more rapidly, and he wants you to understand that what is happening in this hour is not random. It is not emotional. It is not wishful thinking. This is the unfolding of divine timing, timing that has taken months, even years, to align in your favor. Michael says that heaven has entered the final stage of preparation for the miracle that was spoken over your life long before you ever felt the weight of waiting. And now, with each breath you take, the spiritual currents around you shift, tightening the connection between your prayer and its manifestation. He shows me an image of a clock, an ancient, golden, heavenly clock, and its hands are moving toward a precise moment. Not a moment you can predict, not a moment you can calculate, but a moment set by God Himself. The hands of this clock are glowing with a radiant fire, and Michael says this glow represents the alignment that has taken place around you even when you were unaware of it. He says blessings do not fall out of the sky without orchestration. They are woven, constructed, designed. Heaven has been piecing together people, opportunities, circumstances, and divine movements so that everything arrives at the exact second your spirit and your destiny can hold it without fear. He explains that one reason the blessing took this long is because pieces outside of your control had to mature. People who once were not ready now are. Doors that were once locked are being opened from the inside. The path that once was dangerous has been cleared. And most importantly, he says your heart has finally reached the level of spiritual strength where receiving this miracle will not shake you, overwhelm you, or cause you to shrink back. You are no longer the version of yourself who prayed from desperation alone. You are now someone who prays from wisdom, endurance, and a deeper understanding of who you are becoming. Michael then lowers his voice, soft yet commanding. He says there is something you must understand about the final moments before a miracle arrives. They often come wrapped in silence. Silence does not mean nothing is happening. Silence means everything is happening at once. Just because you cannot see the movement does not mean heaven has stopped working. In fact, silence is the hallmark of completion. It is the space where heaven breathes before releasing the final stroke of manifestation. Michael says, if your life feels quiet right now, rejoice. The miracle is at your doorstep. But he also cautions you. The heart grows most vulnerable in silence. This is where doubt tries to whisper lies. This is where old wounds resurface, trying to convince you that you are still the version of yourself who lived through disappointment. This is where the enemy tries to distort your perception, attempting to blur the clarity of what God is doing. Michael commands you to be vigilant. He says, you are not who you were. You are not standing where you once stood. And you must not let the shadows of yesterday define the dawn that is rising before you now. He shows me an image of a flame, steady, bright, unwavering, and he says this flame represents your spirit. Even when you felt weak, it never went out. Even when you doubted yourself, the flame never flickered. Even when you cried, your flame burned. It has carried you through nights that felt endless, through battles that felt unfair, through moments where you felt too tired to pray. And because your flame endured, heaven has declared that your season of fulfillment has arrived. Your endurance has become the evidence that you are ready. Archangel Michael also says that your miracle carries layers. This is not a surface-level blessing. This is a blessing that touches the emotional, the spiritual, the financial, the relational, and the internal dimensions of your life. One miracle, multiple breakthroughs. One answer, many openings. One moment, countless ripple effects. He says this is why the timing had to be perfect, because your blessing is not small. It is the kind that changes the rhythm of your life. He whispers now, you will not recognize yourself after this blessing settles. And he does not say this to frighten you. He says it to prepare you. The version of you who emerges on the other side of this miracle will walk with more confidence, speak with more authority, and trust with more peace. Your heart will expand in ways you forgot were possible. Your spirit will stretch with divine strength. You will remember what it feels like to hope without fear. Michael urges you to stay with this message. He says the revelation that is coming next carries insight into the exact shift happening around your heart. And if you miss it, you may miss the confirmation heaven hath been preparing you for. Do not disconnect here. Do not scroll away. What unfolds in the next moments is a key, a spiritual key capable of unlocking clarity you have prayed for quietly. Hold steady. The miracle is not approaching. It is arriving. Type "My heart is ready for heaven's timing" in the comments if this speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 515 has just been released. My steadfast spirit. There is a deeper unfolding happening now, one that Archangel Michael says only those who are spiritually awake will recognize. He steps forward with a solemn radiance, the kind that carries both comfort and authority, and he tells me that you have entered the phase where heaven begins revealing not just the miracle itself, but the purpose behind it. So many pray for answers, he says, but few ever understand why the answer is shaped the way it is. Tonight, you are being allowed to see into the divine engineering behind your breakthrough. This insight is a gift, granted only because your endurance, your faith, and your spiritual posture have proven that you will not misuse or misunderstand what heaven is placing in your hands. Michael shows me an image of your heart, glowing but scarred. He points to the places within you where disappointment once pressed heavily. He points to the moments where life forced you into silence because your hope felt fragile and easily bruised. He says these experiences did not weaken you. They refined you. They removed the illusions, the false expectations, the fear-driven attachments that once clouded your spiritual clarity. You were not being punished. You were being purified. Not purified from sin, but purified from the versions of yourself that could not yet hold the magnitude of the blessing coming your way. Heaven's miracles are rarely just responses. They are upgrades, elevations, alignments. Michael says the answer you have been praying for is part of a larger shift meant to redirect your path toward the destiny heaven wrote for you before you ever arrived on this earth. You have walked through seasons that felt disconnected, chaotic, and confusing, but he reveals now that every one of those seasons served a purpose. They stripped away what could not follow you into your breakthrough. They closed doors that would have sabotaged you. They ended relationships that would have drained the blessing before it could even take root. Heaven has been pruning your life, carefully and lovingly, to make room for something extraordinary. Michael now points toward a specific emotional posture inside you, something you may not recognize consciously, but heaven has seen clearly. He says you have reached a place where your desire for this miracle is no longer rooted in desperation. It is rooted in alignment. It is rooted in readiness. It is rooted in a deeper understanding of your worth and your calling. He says this shift within you, subtle as it may seem, is the signal heaven was waiting for. Before this, if the blessing had arrived, you might have doubted it, questioned it, minimized it, or even sabotaged it with fear. But now, you are prepared to receive without shrinking, without second-guessing, and without losing yourself. He explains that miracles require partnership. Heaven sends the blessing, but your heart must hold it. And now, finally, your heart has grown strong enough to do exactly that. Michael then reveals another layer, one that may surprise you. He says the miracle approaching your life is not just an answer to your needs, but a divine response to your identity. There is a call on your life, one that has been overshadowed by the battles you have walked through. You forgot parts of yourself while surviving. You lost pieces of your confidence while carrying burdens heavier than you ever admitted. You dimmed your own light in moments when you should have shined boldly. But Michael says this blessing will restore your radiance. It will remind you of who you truly are. It will return to you the strength, clarity, and courage that life tried to steal. Heaven is not giving you this miracle simply because you asked. Heaven is giving it to you because it is part of who you were always meant to become. This answer is a doorway. a transition, a spiritual turning point that shifts the entire trajectory of your journey. And once you step through it, you will never again be who you were before tonight. Michael now brings forward a truth that feels almost electric. He says heaven's movement toward your life has accelerated. The things that once took months will soon take days. The things that once took days will soon take hours. And the things that once required effort will begin arriving through grace. He says, this is what happens when alignment meets divine timing. Everything speeds up, and you are standing inside that quickening right now. He also reveals that the miracle coming to you will carry a sign, something unmistakable. This sign will arrive before the full manifestation, like the first drop of rain before a storm of blessings. It may come as a message, a sudden opportunity, a reconciliation, a revelation, or an unexpected shift in circumstances. Whatever form it takes, you will know it is from heaven because it will bring instant peace, immediate clarity, and a sense of recognition deep within your spirit. It will feel like something you have been waiting for, even if you cannot fully articulate why. Michael urges you not to dismiss this sign. He says it will appear softly at first, gentle but unmistakably divine. And once you acknowledge it, the full miracle will follow swiftly. But he warns that some miss their answer because they expect fireworks, when heaven often whispers, do not look for the dramatic. Look for the divine. Look for what speaks to your spirit, not your senses. He concludes with this powerful declaration. Your heart is seconds away from receiving what it has waited long seasons to hold. He wants you to stay anchored, stay receptive, and stay present, because what unfolds next will guide you more clearly into the blueprint of your Christmas Eve miracle. Before you move forward, pause your spirit. What comes next carries insight you were meant to hear tonight. Type "My spirit remains open" in the comments if this message touches your heart. Lesson code 844 has now been released. My chosen vessel, there is a profound stillness entering your atmosphere right now. Not the stillness of emptiness, but the stillness that happens just before revelation unfolds. Archangel Michael steps forward again, and his presence feels different in this moment. Wider, heavier, infused with a depth of truth he has not yet revealed in the earlier parts of this message. He says you have reached the point where heaven is no longer simply preparing your miracle. It is now preparing you to recognize the deeper transformation that comes with it. For what is arriving in your life is not a single blessing, not a temporary relief, but a divine restructuring of your path. And for that reason, Michael speaks slowly now, carefully, ensuring your spirit absorbs every word. He shows me an image of your life like a map stretched across a celestial table. Points of light connect the hardships you survived, the victories you celebrated, and the silent prayers you whispered when no one else saw your tears. Michael says this map reveals something powerful. Nothing in your journey has been random. Not the timing, not the delays, not the heartbreaks, and not the unexpected turns. Everything has been contributing to your readiness. Everything has been shaping your spiritual architecture so that when the miracle arrives, you are not just blessed, you are transformed, strengthened, and elevated. He says you have been walking through a season where old layers of your identity were being peeled away. The version of you who once doubted yourself, who once questioned whether you were worthy of the very things you prayed for, who once tried to make yourself smaller just to be accepted, that version is dissolving. Archangel Michael says this transformation has been happening quietly within you, like a seed breaking underground where no one can see its struggle but heaven. And now, the sprouting is near. The emerging is near. The new version of you is rising, carrying divine authority and inner clarity you could not have possessed before this season. Michael reveals something that may surprise you. The miracle coming your way is not arriving just to satisfy a desire, but to restore a calling. There is a purpose on your life that has been muted or delayed because the battles you walk through drain your spiritual confidence. You lost pieces of your identity in moments where you were simply trying to survive. You forgot certain strengths you once carried effortlessly. You stopped dreaming as boldly as you were meant to. And you held back prayers because disappointment had bruised your hope. But Michael says this miracle will reignite the flame inside you. Not a small flame, not a temporary spark, but a roaring fire of purpose that will guide your steps long after this season ends. Heaven is not giving you this miracle to complete you. You were never incomplete. Heaven is giving you this miracle to awaken you, to remind you of who you have always been beneath the wounds, beneath the waiting, beneath the seasons where you questioned your own worth. Michael says your heart has reached a point of readiness where it can finally receive the truth. You were never forgotten. You were never overlooked. You were being shaped for something bigger than the blessing itself. He shows me an image of your spirit standing at a crossroads, not one of confusion, but one of destiny. One path represents the comfortable, familiar version of you. The other path represents the expanded, spiritually matured version of you that this miracle will activate. Michael says heaven is guiding you toward the second path, the one filled with new opportunities, new relationships, new clarity, and new authority. But to walk that path, you must be willing to release the identity shaped by past pain. You must be willing to trust that what is coming is not too good to be true. You must be willing to let your heart open without hesitation. Michael says the hesitation you sometimes feel is not fear of failure, it is fear of change. Because change requires surrender. Change requires stepping into a version of yourself you have not fully met yet. But he assures you, this change is safe. This change is divinely guided. And this change will reveal strength within you that has been waiting to rise for years. Heaven has already positioned people who will recognize the new you. Heaven has aligned opportunities that match your true calling. Heaven has prepared environments where your gifts, your voice, your presence will no longer be dismissed, ignored, or undervalued. Michael says this miracle is the doorway into that environment. But he gives one more revelation, something he has held back until now. He says the blessing coming to you carries a moment, one specific moment, where everything shifts. A moment where a message arrives, a door opens, a decision is made, or a connection surfaces that instantly changes the direction of your life. You will not be subtle. It will not be confusing. It will not be something you must overthink. Heaven will make it unmistakably clear. This moment will feel like time pauses, like your spirit awakens with sudden clarity, like you recognize the presence of God surrounding the situation. This is the moment that releases the full miracle. And he warns you gently. Do not let fear steal the moment. Do not let hesitation delay it. Do not let your mind talk you out of what heaven has already decided you are worthy of. You must stay spiritually awake, emotionally open, and mentally receptive. Michael concludes with this: your heart is not waiting anymore. It is becoming. And he says the next message will unveil something that rests at the core of your miracle, something that explains why heaven chose now, of all nights, to move so intensely over your life. Stay with this. What comes next holds meaning you were never meant to miss. Type "I rise into my purpose" in the comments if this message resonates deeply with your spirit. Blessing code 3009 has now been released. I Rising One. There is a holy momentum building around you now, the kind that only appears when heaven is seconds away from unveiling something that will shift the axis of your life. Archangel Michael steps forward, and his presence feels charged, almost thunderous. as though the very air around this message carries the vibration of what is about to be released. He says you have reached a phase of divine acceleration, a moment in your spiritual timeline where everything that once moved slowly, painfully, or unpredictably has begun to align at a supernatural pace. What once felt unreachable is now drawing near. What once felt delayed is now being delivered. And the waiting you endured for so long has created an opening within you that heaven is now prepared to fill. Michael shows me an image of your spirit standing on the edge of a vast, luminous horizon. The sky before you is shifting colors, deep gold, soft rose, shimmering silver, like dawn preparing to break. He says this horizon represents the new season rising before you, a season filled with answers you did not expect to arrive this soon. But heaven has chosen this time because your heart, your resilience, and your spiritual posture have finally synchronized with divine timing. There is no more delay because there is no more resistance within you. You are aligned. You are ready. And heaven does not withhold from the ready. He leans closer and reveals something intimate, something you may have sensed but never fully understood. He says your soul hath been expanding in recent weeks. You may have felt this expansion through moments of sudden clarity, unexpected peace, random bursts of hope, or a peculiar awareness that something in your life was about to shift. These experiences were not imagination, they were signals. Michael says your spirit has been stretching to make room for the incoming blessing. When heaven sends something large, the soul must grow to hold it. And your soul has been growing quietly, gently, beautifully. He explains that your miracle is not coming from the outside in. It is coming from the inside out. Your inner world has been transforming, and now your outer world must reflect that transformation. This is why old cycles have been closing with unusual speed. This is why certain people have drifted away without explanation. This is why opportunities that once excited you no longer feel aligned. Heaven has been cleansing the path ahead of you, removing every obstacle that could hinder the blessing or distort your perception of it. Michael says you are being positioned in a way that ensures the miracle will not just touch your life. It will settle into it. It will remain. Some blessings come and go, but the one approaching your life carries permanence. This is not a temporary breakthrough. It is a foundational shift, a new chapter, a new atmosphere, a new spiritual rhythm that will follow you into every future season. He then reveals a truth. It pulses with divine urgency. He says the miracle you are waiting for has already been released in the spiritual realm. It is no longer in decision. It is in transit. It is moving toward you with the force of destiny behind it. But there is one final step that must occur before it reaches your physical experience: recognition. Heaven can send blessings, but the human heart must recognize them. And recognition comes from awareness, openness, and spiritual attentiveness. Michael says the signs of your miracle are already beginning to appear around you, but they are arriving softly, like gentle taps on the door of your awareness. Heaven rarely shouts. It whispers. It nudges. It stirs. This is why he urges you to stay spiritually awake in this hour. Pay attention to small shifts, passing thoughts, sudden feelings, unexpected messages, recurring signs, inner pullings, and moments of clarity that seem to appear out of nowhere. These are not coincidences. They are markers on the path leading you to the exact moment your miracle manifests. He says the blessing will not surprise your spirit. It will only surprise your circumstances. Michael shows me the image of a key, bright, intricate, glowing with divine energy. He says this key represents insight, understanding, and timing, and heaven is about to place this key into your awareness. It will unlock a moment, a choice, or a revelation that positions you directly before your long-awaited answer. This key arrives as wisdom, wisdom that suddenly makes everything make sense. Wisdom that reveals why the delays happen. Wisdom that exposes the true purpose behind your waiting. And once this wisdom enters your spirit, you will feel a surge of readiness unlike anything you have ever experienced. He also warns gently that this moment of readiness is delicate. This is not the time to revisit old fears or question whether you are worthy of what God has prepared. Michael says doubt is the only barrier that can slow what is otherwise unstoppable. He urges you to speak life, to speak faith, to speak gratitude, even if you cannot yet see the full picture. He says your words in this hour carry unusual spiritual authority. What you speak begins to draw the blessing even closer. Michael's final message in this part is powerful. He says, your spirit is no longer holding on. It is rising. Rising out of old wounds. Rising out of past disappointments. Rising out of mental fog and emotional heaviness. Rising into a version of yourself capable of hosting miracles without fear of losing them. And he wants you to know this. The next message will reveal a layer of your miracle that touches the deepest emotional place within you, the place heaven is determined to heal and revive through this blessing. Stay here. Stay open. Heaven is not finished speaking. Type I rise with heaven's wind in the comments if this message speaks deeply to your spirit. Blessing code 909 has now been released. My inwardly awakened heart, there is a tenderness flowing through the spiritual realm right now, a softness and a depth that Archangel Michael says is meant to reach the most hidden part of you, the place where your private hopes and your quiet wounds lie side by side. His presence steps forward differently in this moment, not with the fierce authority of a warrior, but with the gentle steadiness of a guardian who has walked beside you through every unseen battle. He says you have arrived at a point in this journey where heaven is ready to touch the part of your life that had been hurting the longest. And this is why the miracle you are about to receive carries not only breakthrough, but emotional restoration, heart-level healing, and a return of hope you thought you lost forever. Michael reveals that the deepest reason your miracle is arriving at the very last second is because your heart needed to reach a sacred openness, one that could receive without fear, without suspicion, and without comparing the present moment to past disappointments. He says many people ask for blessings, but only a few ever allow themselves to be healed enough to actually hold the blessing. But you, he says, have been undergoing a quiet transformation that heaven has been monitoring with great care. You have released old expectations. You have shed beliefs that once limited you. You have confronted fears that once silenced your hope. And though you may not fully see it, heaven sees clearly. You are not who you were even a few months ago. He shows me an image of your heart like a delicate glass vessel, once cracked, once fragile, but now reforged with divine fire. The cracks have not disappeared, but they have strengthened you. They have been sealed with spiritual gold, like ancient pottery restored with sacred craftsmanship. Michael says your healing has created more capacity within you than you ever had before. The very places where you were once weak have become the strongest places in your spirit. And it is into those very places that heaven is preparing to pour an answer that will overflow. Heaven has watched the moments when you smiled publicly while hurting privately. The moments when you carried burdens that nobody recognized. The nights when you prayed for healing in ways you could not articulate aloud. Michael says no part of the journey was wasted. Every tear, every whispered prayer, every moment of endurance has been woven into the blessing that is approaching your life. A miracle is not only coming to address a need, it is coming to restore your heart from the weariness that the waiting created. Michael leans closer and says something that lands with sacred gravity. The answer you have been waiting for will not only arrive, it will soothe. This miracle carries comfort inside it, relief inside it, peace inside it. It is not the kind of blessing that simply enters your life. It recalibrates your spirit. It lifts emotional burdens you were never meant to carry alone. It brings a breath of fresh air into places of your heart that felt suffocated by fear, loneliness, or disappointment. And he says you will feel this shift before you see it. Your heart will lighten. Your breath will deepen. Your thoughts will soften. Something inside you will recognize, before your mind understands it, that heaven has begun moving in your favor. He warns gently that right before healing settles into your spirit, you may feel emotions rise to the surface unexpectedly. Old memories may return. Buried wounds may feel tender. Patterns you thought you overcame may reappear for a brief moment. But Michael says this is not regression. It is release. Healing often asks the heart to loosen its grip on the past so that the future can enter freely. The resurfacing of old wounds is heaven clearing space within you for the blessing that carries restoration. He tells me that your emotions are not betraying you, they are preparing you. Heaven is softening the soil of your heart so that the incoming miracle does not land on hardened ground. And this is why you must not withdraw now. Do not shut down. Do not disconnect. Do not retreat into old patterns of self-protection. Your vulnerability is not weakness. It is the opening heaven needs. Michael now reveals something profound. The miracle approaching your life carries a personal touch from God Himself. It is not a generic blessing. It is tailored to your story, shaped by your trials, and infused with the exact comfort your spirit has cried out for. This blessing knows your name. It knows your journey. It knows what broke you, what strengthened you, and what you have been quietly longing for. Heaven has crafted it with the same intimacy and precision with which the stars were placed in the sky. He says you must remain spiritually attentive, because the next shift will begin subtly. An unexpected message, a sudden moment of clarity, a wave of peace that washes over you without explanation, a sign that repeats itself so clearly that you cannot ignore it. These subtle shifts are heaven's way of saying, the healing has begun. A miracle is in motion. Michael assures you that once the healing settles, the blessing will follow quickly. Healing clears the path. Healing unlocks the last gate. Healing prepares the heart to hold what heaven had been waiting to release. He ends this message with a powerful whisper. Do not step back now. The miracle is almost in your hands. And he says the next message will reveal the final layer of readiness, something essential for receiving what has been written for your destiny. Stay here. Stay open. Stay expectant. This is where the transformation deepens. Type "My heart receives the healing" in the comments if this message touches your spirit. Blessing code 1007 has now been released. Like this message, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your affirmation, and make sure you subscribe so heaven's next revelation reaches you the moment it is spoken. As Archangel Michael pours healing into the deepest parts of your spirit, I feel a divine invitation rising for those who believe in the power of this mission. Every message released here becomes a lifeline to someone standing alone in their darkest hour, and your support fuels that reach. When you sow into this work, you are not giving to a channel, you are opening a spiritual well where broken hearts can drink living water again. God says, where you sow healing, I multiply it back into your own life, and this is His active word over you tonight. I feel led to say this clearly. Your step of support becomes a prophetic act that aligns you with the very miracle you are preparing to receive. Through super thanks, channel membership, with a PayPal link in the description, your seed becomes a light that travels farther than you can imagine. Step boldly, because heaven moves in response to the courageous. My divinely aligned soul, there is a powerful shift unfolding around you, the kind that Archangel Michael says only appears when heaven is in the final stages of releasing something long promised. His presence steps forward now with a clarity that feels almost electric, as though the message itself carries the vibration of your approaching miracle. He says you are entering the stage where the spiritual and the physical begin to overlap, where signs intensify, where inner knowing becomes impossible to ignore, and where the atmosphere around your life starts to feel charged with purpose. This is the moment just before manifestation, the moment where heaven leans closest to the earth. Michael shows me an image of a gate of light opening slowly, as though something magnificent hath been waiting behind it, gathering strength, gathering momentum, gathering fullness. He says this gate represents the final boundary between your waiting and your receiving. You have prayed, you have endured, you have grown, and now the gate is parting. Not fully yet, but enough for the light of your miracle to spill forward into your awareness. He says your spirit has already sensed this, even if your mind has not fully understood it. The sense of expectancy, the subtle excitement, the strange peace, the sudden bursts of clarity, the feeling that something is shifting in the unseen. These are the spiritual leaks of the blessing pushing its way into your world. Heaven is not silent anymore. It is stirring. Michael explains that the miracle coming to you has passed through layers of divine confirmation. It has been checked against your readiness, your growth, your spiritual maturity, and even the alignment of people who will be part of the blessings unfolding. This is why it could not arrive earlier. So many threads had to be woven. So many hearts had to be adjusted. So many circumstances had to be softened and shaped for this moment. But now, he says, every thread has reached its end point, and heaven is gathering them into the blessing meant for you. He reveals something deeper here, something intensely spiritual. The reason this miracle is arriving at the last second is because the last second is the holiest point in divine timing. It is the moment where faith is purified, where endurance becomes testimony, where hope becomes substance. Many give up before this point, but you did not. You stood. You stretched it. You held on. And heaven marks this as spiritual maturity. It is this very maturity that unlocked the moment you now stand inside. Michael says there is a divine pressure building in the spiritual realm, and this pressure is the final surge that pushes your answer into manifestation. You may feel this pressure as increased sensitivity, heightened intuition, emotional waves, or unexpected moments of reflection. You may also feel it through the sudden closing of old cycles, the removal of draining relationships, or the ending of situations that no longer align with the life you are stepping into. These may feel abrupt, but he says they are necessary. Heaven is removing what cannot coexist with your miracle. He then shows me something profound, your spirit holding a flame, steady and unwavering. He says this flame is your inner readiness, your alignment with divine timing. In the past, this flame flickered. It dimmed in moments of disappointment, in seasons of silence, and in times where life felt heavier than your hope could carry. But now, the flame is steady. It does not tremble. It does not shrink. It burns with purpose. And this is why the miracle is coming now, because your internal flame has reached stability. Michael reveals that this next phase of your journey will require you to trust what you feel spiritually before you see anything physically. He says this is the way miracles arrive, first as a stirring, then as a sign, then as a shift, then as manifestation. You are already in the stirring. Signs have already begun. The shift is beginning now, and manifestation is moving toward you with unstoppable momentum. He wants you to understand that heaven does not tease. When signs begin, It means the blessing is already committed. Heaven keeps its word. Michael also speaks about clarity. He says the incoming miracle will bring with it a sudden understanding of things that once confused you. Why you were delayed. Why certain people left. Why certain prayers were answered differently than you expected. Why you had to walk through certain emotional valleys. He says the moment your miracle arrives, confusion will break off you like chains snapping in a single instant. You will see your life through a divine lens, and everything will make sense. He warns, however, that you must remain spiritually engaged. This is not the moment to withdraw into old patterns of doubt or self-protection. This is not the moment to talk yourself out of what heaven has already decided. He says your agreement with this miracle matters, not in a way that controls its timing, but in a way that prepares your heart to receive it fully. If you meet the blessing with doubt, you will shrink yourself beneath what God intended to elevate you into. But if you meet it with open hands, an open heart, and an open spirit, the blessing will settle into your life with ease. Michael offers one final revelation in this message, an intimate truth meant only for those whose hearts are ready to receive it. He says the blessing approaching your life carries divine protection. Nothing and no one can intercept it. No circumstance can sabotage it. No person can take it. No delay can return. Heaven has sealed this miracle with a mark of completion, and the only thing left is its delivery into your experience. He whispers with authority, "You are closer than you think. What you have been sensing is real. What you have been expecting is aligned. What you have been waiting for is already en route. Stay present. Stay aware." The next revelation unveils the moment heaven shifts from preparation to manifestation. My spirit remains expectant in the comments if this message resonates deeply with your being. Blessing code 8118 has now been released. My spirit-anchored traveler, there is a profound unraveling of divine mystery happening around you. The kind Archangel Michael says only occurs when heaven is preparing to shift a life into its next destined chapter. His presence approaches now with a magnitude that almost bends the atmosphere around this message. He says you are standing at the very edge of your miracle's threshold, closer than your emotions can measure and nearer than your logic can comprehend. This is not simply a season of receiving. This is a season of revealing. Heaven is not just sending a blessing. Heaven is unveiling the reason behind every moment you have endured leading up to this point. Michael shows me an image of a long, winding path stretching behind you. Moments of triumph, moments of exhaustion, moments where you continued walking even when you could not see more than one step ahead. He says the miracle approaching your life is not meant to erase your journey. It is meant to crown it. You have walked through valleys that taught you resilience. You have climbed emotional heights that demanded your faith. You have navigated uncertainty with a courage you rarely give yourself credit for. And now, each part of your journey is converging into the exact moment heaven ordained for your blessing to appear. He says this next phase is not about waiting, it is about watching. Watching for the signs heaven is already releasing. Watching for the cues that your breakthrough is beginning to take shape. Watching for the subtle but undeniable ways your spirit acknowledges what your mind cannot yet articulate. Michael says the human heart often senses a miracle long before the eyes ever see it. And this is what has been happening to you. The sense of anticipation, the feeling of spiritual electricity, the quiet recognition that your life is shifting, even though nothing outward seems to have moved yet. These are indicators, confirmations, echoes of heaven whispering, "Prepare. What you prayed for is approaching." Heaven is not asking you to strain for this blessing. Heaven is asking you to stay open for it. Michael explains that many people miss the early movement of their miracle because they expect the first sign to be dramatic. But heaven moves differently. The divine often begins as a whisper before it becomes a declaration. It begins as a stirring before it becomes a breakthrough. It begins as a gentle shift before it becomes a manifested reality. He says the blessing intended for you has already entered your spiritual field. It is no longer delayed. It is no longer forming. It is descending. Then he reveals something deeply significant. Your miracle is relational in nature. Not only relational in terms of people, but in terms of how it reconnects you to peace, to purpose, to identity, and to the version of yourself that life tried to silence. He says there is a part of you, strong, brave, spiritually intuitive, that has been buried under years of responsibility, disappointment, and emotional fatigue. The incoming miracle will bring that version of you back to life. It will reawaken qualities in you that have been dormant. It will remind you of your strength, your calling, your divine design. But he warns that the awakening of your true self always comes with a moment of inner resistance. You may feel a sudden heaviness, a sudden emotional release, or even a subtle fear of stepping into something new. Michael says this fear is not a sign of preparedness. It is a sign of transition. When the heart expands to receive more, it must stretch beyond what it once believed was possible. And stretching often feels like tension. He wants you to breathe through it, walk through it, allow it. Because on the other side of that emotional stretch is the clarity you have prayed for. Michael shows me a vision of your spirit standing before a door of radiant blue light. This door represents the moment your miracle begins to appear physically. He says the door is not locked. It is not blocked. It is not obstructed by doubt or delay. It is simply waiting for the final alignment, an alignment heaven is orchestrating right now with precision. He says you may feel this alignment through sudden opportunities, unexpected conversations, synchronicities, or moments that feel too perfectly timed to be coincidence. These are not random. They are heaven's fingerprints. He then reveals that your blessing has a layered effect. When it arrives, it will not only change one area of your life, it will begin a chain reaction. A shift in your heart will shift your relationships. A shift in your clarity will shift your decisions. A shift in your circumstances will shift your spiritual vision. Heaven rarely sends a miracle that stands alone. Miracles ripple. They expand. They influence everything connected to the person they touch. Michael says your life is about to experience this ripple, and it will come suddenly, beautifully, and unmistakably. Heaven has waited for this moment, not because you were unworthy before, but because the blessing needed the right soil to grow in. And your spirit has finally become that soil. Rich, ready, receptive. Michael leans close with a whisper, firm and certain. You are not waiting for your miracle anymore. Your miracle is making its way to you. He says the next message will unveil the moment heaven shifts from movement to manifestation, where the unseen becomes seen, and the promise becomes reality. Stay alert. Stay open. The air around you is thick with fulfillment. Type I am ready for the unveiling in the comments if this resonated with your inner knowing. Lesson code 4477 is now released over you. My threshold standing soul, there is a sacred intensity surrounding you now, the kind that only emerges when heaven is moments away from turning the unseen into the undeniable. Archangel Michael steps forward with a presence that feels almost like a spiritual wind, steady, warm, and charged with purpose. He says you have reached the moment just before manifestation, the moment where the spiritual realm leans so closely into your life that your very atmosphere begins to shift. You may not see it yet, but you can feel it. The soft pressure in your chest, the heightened awareness, the strange calm. the quiet expectancy that refuses to leave. These sensations are not emotional. They are prophetic. They are the signals that your miracle has crossed from preparation into delivery. Michael shows me an image of a scroll unfurling above your life. He says this scroll represents the divine timeline written for you, the one heaven has been protecting since the day your spirit took its first breath. Many seasons were preparation. Many moments were lessons. Many delays were protection disguised. But now the scroll has reached the line marked fulfillment. This is the line heaven has been guiding you toward without fail. Even on the days you felt lost, heaven never lost sight of this line. He says your steps have been divinely ordered in ways you never recognized. Every closed door was steering you toward the right one. Every loss was making room for the blessing that would not have fit into your previous season. Every frustration was clearing spiritual clutter that would have interfered with the miracle's arrival. And now, because your spirit has grown, because your faith has matured, because your heart has softened in the right places and strengthened in others, heaven is releasing what your soul has been aligned to receive. Michael reveals something profound. Your miracle is not coming in pieces. It is coming complete. Heaven has finished crafting every detail. The people involved have been positioned. The timing hath been perfected. The circumstances have been aligned behind the scenes. There is nothing unfinished about what is on its way to you. He says this is not a partial blessing. This is a full one. And it carries completion with it, closure for old wounds, clarity for past confusion, and comfort for the years that felt empty. He shows me a vision of your spirit standing in a narrow hallway. For years, this hallway has felt tight, restrictive, difficult to navigate. You have walked through it with patience you rarely acknowledge. You have endured walls that felt too close, shadows that felt too heavy, and silence that felt too long. But at the end of this hallway, a door of brilliant white light stands wide open. Not cracked, not locked. Wide, fully open. Michael says this door symbolizes the moment you are stepping into right now, the transition from constriction to expansion, from waiting to receiving, from wandering to arrival. He says you may feel a mixture of emotions in this hour. Excitement, nervousness, anticipation, even a strange sense of unfamiliar peace. This is because your spirit recognizes what is coming even before your mind can make sense of it. Heaven always speaks to the spirit first. Your miracle has already introduced itself to your inner world, and now your outer world must catch up. Michael gives a crucial insight here. The shift you are about to experience will feel sudden but has been long in the making. It will feel instant but was years in preparation. It will feel surprising but was always destined. Heaven moves suddenly when the soul reaches readiness, and your soul has finally crossed the threshold. He says the miracle approaching you carries the energy of a divine reversal. Something that once felt stagnant will begin to move. Something that felt impossible will become effortless. Something that felt broken will be restored in a way you did not know to ask for. Heaven is turning something in your favor, not by human power, not by coincidence, but by divine intervention. He also reveals something deeply personal. Your miracle will touch an area of your life that hath been aching the longest. This answer is not random. It is Targian. Heaven has been listening with precision. The cry beneath your words, the desire beneath your prayers, the need beneath your strength. Michael says this incoming blessing will reach the root of your longing, not just the surface expression of it. He whispers you will feel seen again. You will feel chosen again. You will feel aligned again. For too long, your heart has carried both hope and weariness, like two weights pulling in opposite directions. The miracle will resolve this tension. It will bring you into harmony with yourself. It will return coherence to a part of your life that has felt scattered. Michael offers a final revelation in this message. In the moments before manifestation, many people step back because they cannot see the full picture. But he says you must do the opposite. Lean in. Stay spiritually away. Stay present. Because what is coming does not require effort, it requires recognition. You must be ready to notice the signs, the sudden shifts, the unexpected openings. When the door swings, it will swing quickly. When the moment arrives, it will arrive clearly. And when heaven moves, it will move unmistakably. He says the next message will reveal the point where heaven's movement becomes your physical reality. The moment your miracle touches earth and announces itself. Stay with this. You are too close to look away now. Something holy is approaching. Type I remain open to the divine unfolding in the comments if your spirit bears witness to this message. Blessing code 2323 is now released over your life. My dawn-touching soul, this is the moment Archangel Michael has been preparing you for. The moment where heaven's whisper becomes reality, where the final veil lifts, and where the miracle that has been circling your spirit finally steps into the visible world. His presence comes forward now with a magnitude that feels like sunrise breaking across the horizon of your life. There is no hesitation in him, no uncertainty, no delay. He speaks with the clarity of completion, and he says, the hour has arrived. What your heart has been waiting for is ready to reveal itself. You have journeyed through seasons of stretching, seasons of surrender, seasons of refining, and seasons of silent hope. You have walked through nights that felt long and mornings that felt empty. You have held on to faith when everything in your world tried to pull it from your grasp. And yet, here you are, standing on the final step before fulfillment. Michael says heaven has watched every moment of your endurance, and heaven has chosen this time, not earlier, not later, because this is the moment where your spirit is fully aligned with the blessing it was always meant to receive. He shows me an image of a bright, radiant orb hovering just in front of you. It says this orb represents the exact miracle that heaven crafted specifically for your life. It carries your name. It carries your story. It carries the healing you prayed for in secret, the answers you whispered in the dark, the restoration you feared might never come. This blessing is alive with divine intention, and it is moving toward you with unstoppable certainty. Michael says the question is no longer will it come. The question now is, are you ready to receive what comes next? Heaven is shifting from position into manifestation. There is no more preparation left to be done. The alignment has been completed. The timing has matured. The spiritual gates have opened. Now the miracle must land. Michael says this landing will feel sudden, so sudden that it may take your breath for a moment. A message at the right time. A reconciliation you never expected. An opportunity that appears without warning. A door that unlocks itself. A breakthrough that feels as though it drops straight into your hands. He says miracles often arrive disguised in moments that seem ordinary at first glance. But when this one enters, your spirit will recognize it instantly. There will be a shift inside you, an internal knowing so strong that it will quiet every old fear and silence every lingering doubt. You will feel a settling, a dightening, a warmth, a clarity. Something inside you will whisper, "This is what I've been waiting for." And you will know. Michael reveals that heaven has been preparing not only the miracle, but you. Your emotions, your readiness, your identity. He says the version of you standing here now is not the same version who began this journey. You have grown. You have softened. You have strengthened. You have remembered your worth. You have reclaimed your voice. And because of that, you will not mishandle or misunderstand the blessing when it appears. You will not shrink away from it. You will not question whether you deserve it. You will stand in it with the confidence of someone who has endured the wilderness and earned the harvest. He says your miracle will not only answer your prayer, it will confirm your identity. Your life will begin to reflect who you truly are, not who pain tried to convince you to be. Old insecurities will fall away. Old confusion will dissolve. Old cycles will break with ease. Heaven is not simply changing your circumstances. Heaven is revealing you to yourself. Michael leans closer now with a final insight, one released only when the miracle is moments away. He says there is a divine signature attached to this blessing, and that signature is speed. Things will accelerate quickly now. What once took months will take days. What once took days will take moments. You will see movement so clearly that even those around you will feel the shift. Heaven is not releasing a slow blessing. Heaven is releasing a swift one. He urges you to stay spiritually open, because the signs leading into this manifestation will appear rapidly. They will come through your intuition, your dreams, your conversations, your emotions, and your unexpected encounters. Be alert. Be receptive. Heaven is moving with purpose and precision. Your miracle is not wandering. It is arriving. Then Michael speaks a sentence that reverberates through your spirit. The blessing will reveal itself at the last second, and that last second is upon you now. This is why the atmosphere around your life has felt so charged. This is why your heart has felt restless yet hopeful. This is why your thoughts have been drifting toward possibility. Your spirit knows what your eyes have not yet seen. He ends with this final declaration. Step boldly into this moment. You have waited. You have endured. You have been faithful. Now heaven rewards your persistence. The chapter of waiting is closing. The chapter of receiving is opening. And nothing, not fear, not doubt, not circumstance, can stop what heaven has already set in motion. You are crossing into manifestation. You are stepping into fulfillment. You are touching your miracle. Type I receive the manifestation in the comments if your spirit knows this word is for you. Blessing code 7007 is now active over your life. Like this message, share it with someone who needs to feel heaven's movement, comment your affirmation, and subscribe so you never miss another divine release spoken over your destiny. As this final revelation unfolds and Archangel Michael announces the arrival of your long-awaited miracle, I feel a divine pull to invite those whose spirits are stirred to stand with this mission. What you have received here is not entertainment. It is ministry. It is prophetic alignment. It is heaven speaking into the weary corners of countless hearts. When you support this work, you are not giving to a platform. You are becoming part of God's outpouring into lives desperate for hope. The Lord says, where you sow into revelation, I open the windows of heaven over your own life, and this word is alive over you now. If your spirit feels the nudge, respond boldly. Through super thanks, channel membership, or the PayPal link in the description, your seed becomes a prophetic act that positions you for accelerated blessing. Do not hesitate. Move as one aligned with heaven's timing, and watch God honor your obedience.